Welcome to Extra. I'm Joanne Hines.
And I'm Georgia Lash. Here at Extra, we bring you expanded coverage of recently broadcast features from Sun City TV. We have had a lot of stories to pick from this month. But Joanne, please give us the start with a very poignant story.
Thank you, Georgia. The city of Hardeeville dedicated their brand new turf field to Councilman David Spizo, who passed away in June. David was instrumental in getting this field developed. All that attended was treated to funny and interesting stories about David from his two sons, Mayor Harry William, and fellow councilman and friend John Kemp. Our TV crew was there to capture the moments.
David served on the city council for many years and rallied support for recreation, sports, and tourism for the city. He was instrumental in initiating this artificial turf field project, and we are here today to support his project.
Thank you all for coming. This is amazing. What a wonderful gathering for Mr. Spizo. For those that know him, I'm telling you right now, he is shining down on us, and I think he's the one that brought all this beautiful weather for us as well.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for coming. This is a great turnout to honor David this afternoon. We all have our own special memories of David, but one of my favorite was Trunk or Treat in 2016. And if you look at this picture up here, David showed up dressed as a blind soccer referee. and for those of you who know David, well, first of all, it was very clever. And second of all, certainly, it was very David. But, that soccer uniform was more than just a costume. For David, in all his uniforms, whether it be a soccer referee, his Navy uniform, or even the name badge that he wore everywhere, including, he took it to bed with him too, right, Martha? Because they were important to him because it represented what he believed in and what he loved. Now, as an example, we're all here on an artificial turf field. And I remember when the council was first considering to do this. It was a huge expense. This is over $600,000. And back then, Hardeeville, well, we had a lot of promise, but we weren't yet a reality. So this was a huge investment of our accommodation tax funds. But David, he never wavered in his support of doing this. Just as he never wavered in his support for the new dog park we have back there, and those beautiful covered basketball courts, and our new playground there, and of course, our rec center. Because for David, it was not about money. It was about families and their children. And that's why we're really here today. Because the city really weren't built by brick and mortar, by real estate investors or developers or builders. Our community was built by special people like David who cared about their community and wanted to build a better place, a good home for families and friends. We're here today to honor David with dedicating this field to him. Builders build homes. It's people who build communities. People like David.
If you knew David, you knew two things. If you went to breakfast with him, he asked for more napkins. He also had a saying, Hardeeville's my hometown. And he proved it every day. People would say, what are you saying? And he'd say, Hardeeville is my hometown.
He was really proud of what we had here at Hardeeville and what has been built. So if y'all can understand, my dad would always tell my brother and I, God, family, school, and soccer. It's always in that order.
Like I said, most of the stuff's been said about my father, but you know, whenever I see something on the side of a building or like a sign on the interstate, I'm like, why did they name, you know, the Coleman Highway, or why did they do this or that? So I'll Google that. So what I'm hoping is when people see that name up there on the stadium, that they'll Google it. I don't know how much they're going to find, but the point is that hopefully that's an inspiration to them. So why is it an inspiration? My father was always positive and he was always forward thinking, no matter what. And even at the end, like you said, John, he wasn't ready to go. He was always thinking about the future. He wasn't worried about the past. He was always looking forward. So
1, 2, 3. Okay, and if the family will turn around, we're going to do the official unveiling of the David J.
Martha, how long was David involved in community projects?
Well, David retired from the Navy in 1987, and until then, we were always moving and living in different places, and he had his military obligations. But then when we moved to Macon, Georgia, he got very involved, and we retired there in 1987 and lived there for 28 years and became very involved in the Middle Georgia Soccer Association and got it established from the ground, from the grassroots. And it is now a very big, well-involved and utilized soccer association. And then when we retired and we moved to the Low Country, and he ran for city council in Hardeeville, he saw another need to get this youth sports program started because of the value it has, not only to the individuals, but to the families, to the communities, to the long life work ethic that these kids develop through youth sports and youth soccer. So he was a man of passion, a man with a vision, and he thought with his heart. He always made decisions on what he felt was best for the good of the community and the good. I'm so honored and for him, and this is such a worthwhile tribute and a legacy of the legacy he's left.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
On a personal note, I worked with David for many, many years, and David was the most kind and dedicated man to his community and his family I've ever met. This is Chris Chase for Sun City TV News.
I was at this event, and it was very touching having known David personally. And of course, his wife Martha, one of our Sun City TV volunteers, was supported by many, including her fellow Sun City Synchronettes. Now, Georgia, you were at an event that brings out the Sun City crowds. Tell us about that.
Joanne is so right. Every event hosted by our All About Art Club is special and brings attention to the creative talent in our community. I took some time to learn more about what it's like to be an artist.
Kate, it's getting a little loud and lively in here, so I am guessing this is not a typical Thursday afternoon. So your job as co-president of the All About Art Club is to tell us what is going on.
Well, you're right. It is. It's getting a little rowdy. This is the kickoff for our spring art show. Right now is the artist reception. All the artists who have this fantastic art, 106 pieces, 66 artists, have a chance to come in half an hour before the community is invited. But in half an hour, the community is invited to join us for hors d'oeuvres and a little wine and to enjoy the art.
That is such a tradition that you've built up with your openings. I have to ask you, as the co-president, how exciting is it for these 100-some pieces that you know the people behind those pieces? How exciting is that for you?
Honestly, it's thrilling because I've seen many of these in process too. Often we make art together, so we have usually tables in this room, and so people are in here painting or drawing, and so I saw some of this art as it developed from a blank canvas to what it is now. So how exciting it is? Very exciting.
Well, thank you, because you always give us a wow factor when we hear that there's an art event coming up. So we'll be talking to some of your artists and moving around to check it all out. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, Georgia.
For those of us who are artistically challenged, I wanted to ask our artists that are here tonight about their creative process. so that we can learn more and be less challenged. First with me, Howard. This is beautiful. Tell us about this.
It is a colorful rendition of the Low Country. And I used to do the regular pictures of Low Country, but everybody does that. So I said, what are the really beautiful colors? And everyone likes orange, and blue, and green. And that's what it turned out to be.
Beautiful. Now, as part of your process, a question that I always think about is, how do you know you're done? How do you know one more brush stroke isn't needed?
There's no way to know. In fact, I was done with this painting, and I stuck it on the floor and I looked at it and said, something's wrong. I didn't know it at the time. Came back a week later, I know what's wrong. It's not bright enough. So I took a little yellow and that was it. And now I knew it was done.
So we have to rip it out of your hand so you don't keep going?
Exactly. In fact, if I have a brush and paint, I'd add something.
I might catch somebody doing that tonight. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Harriet, I think there would be a lot of people that would be so thrilled to have one painting or one work in this display. You have two, so let's start with you explaining this particular painting of yours.
Well, this is a pastel of lavender fields, which I've never seen myself, but my brother-in-law did in Tasmania, and I used a photograph that he gave me, and I started working on that, and then I got inspired by another photo of lavender fields, so I presented two.
Harriet, you said you couldn't just finish with one, you had to add two, and I can see why. So tell us about Provence.
Well, I'm always inspired by the color purple, so I do love these lavender fields and their incredible color variation, and I think they're just luscious. Although I've never seen them in real life, I have seen them in numerous photographs. So,
well, I believe you've done it justice, that's for sure. Now, I've been asking all the artists about your process as a creator, and the one thing that I think of as you were working on this, was there ever a moment where you just said, hey, this is it, I'm going with this, I'm just moving, this is exactly what I want? Or are there times where you stop yourself and go, not good enough? What happens?
I did go through that with this painting. I got incredibly frustrated with it, and I walked away and put it on the mantle and studied it for a while from a distance, because you're awfully close when you're painting. And then I walked up to it and took my finger and smeared every single one of those, and then it was doable.
So the smear was the answer. Well, I think it's very good that you didn't stop yourself. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Sherry, your watercolor is here. Tell us about the thoughts that went in as you did this.
Well, sure. I'm a botanical artist. I've been trained at Lewis Ginter Botanical Gardens in Richmond, Virginia. I was an accountant in a previous life, and I decided to try a little bit of art. So this is what happens when an accountant does art.
I was going to say a little bit of art is not how I would describe that. That's a lot of art. It's beautiful. Now, as you've been doing this, and you said for several years, do you still find that it's more fun playing, or is it sometimes work?
Well, something like this where you're into the details of it, it has to become a passion. So you have to really get under the magnifying glasses and look at the little lines and the little details and dissect the flower. So it becomes a passion.
Well, it's beautiful, and the details remind me almost of Audubon when he did his bird details. I mean, it's just beautiful. Thank you Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Diane, this beautiful little painting over here, tell us about what you brought today.
Well, I'm fascinated by the swamps. I know that sounds silly, but I really like the swamps. And that swamp is on the way to the wildlife refuge in Savannah. And I sat on the road for a few days and painted that with the trucks whizzing by me. I didn't know there were trucks there because I started it on a Sunday, and it was very interesting to paint that.
Okay, so it can be dangerous.
Well, yes, it can.
Creativity abounds in Sun City. More beauty was on display at this spring's Avant Gardener's Gardening Tour.
Let's take a look.
Welcome to the 2023 Avant Gardener Spring Garden Tour. Come with us as we enjoy the beauty created by our Sun City gardeners.
Over at the Fitchco's garden, Rebecca and Jim's motto is Dig the Good Life. They've created a sanctuary reflecting an English cottage coastal garden for birds and bees to thrive. Hydrangeas, palms, roses, lavender, and native plants are reflected in their peaceful sanctuary overlooking a lovely lagoon.
Hello, I am Rebecca, and this is my husband Jim. And I've been gardening all my life along with my father. My garden is a garden sanctuary. I make it for enjoyment of tilling the soil, planting the plants, watching them grow, and then watching nature come and enhance the effect of the garden, and then it gives me inner self peace.
The O'Sullivan's garden is all about color throughout the seasons. Lynn and Frank have included varieties of the same species to create pups, giving the garden a cohesive design and making it almost maintenance-free. The backyard is serene with pots of colorful flowers.
Well, my garden, I just love working in my garden. And as we had said, we were trying to make it maintenance-free, but nothing is ever maintenance-free. My husband is the maintenance man.
In the spring of 2022, Jerry Hain and Jim Roberts began creating their vision of a Charleston secret garden. A new paver path leads through subtropical foliage, hardy perennials, and a camellia garden. An enormous collection of orchids, earning Jerry the title of the Orchid Guy, is situated throughout the garden, adding to what is becoming a slice of paradise in the shade.
Hello and welcome to our garden. This is a new garden for us. We've only lived in this house for a little over 2 years.
Ruby and Calvin Murray created a tropical garden for relaxing and entertaining. The porches are filled with pots of succulents and English ivy, with the back garden situated on a lagoon with cozy sitting areas. Sun and shade provide the perfect setting for irises, cannas, elephant ears, banana trees, and colorful perennials.
Calvin, would you like to talk about all the hard work you've been doing?
At the buyer's home, Jeff and Patricia completely renovated their garden to achieve the Clemson Certified Carolina Yard designation using environmentally friendly landscape practices. With multiple beds filled with a variety of native plants, camellias, cannas, and sage, it is a magnet for butterflies, bees, and a variety of birds.
Jeff and Patricia, the Avant Gardeners would like to present to you a plaque for the Garden of Distinction for the 2023 Garden Tour. We appreciate all you've done.
Southeast East in Pinckney Hall today as the Avant Gardeners create displays with Asian influence here for their garden tour. Now, like all clubs, they have special interest groups. We call them SIGs. And today we feature the Bonsai SIG, adding to the theme with their Asian flair. Mary, you are in charge of the Bonsai SIG, adding to this special theme today. It's beautiful, it's huge display. So give every one of our viewers who aren't perhaps as comfortable with the idea of bonsai as you and your members are, what is the true characteristic of bonsai?
Bonsai is the art of taking a tree or shrub, anything that grows a woody stem, and shrinking it so that it will fit in a small pot and keeping it that way and that size for the life of the tree.
All the collective efforts of today's garden tour fund the community and Hummingbird Garden. What a beautiful way to end our show as we learn more about this amenity in Sun City. Sue, give us the backstory about the origin of this beautiful amenity that we have here in Sun City.
So the garden was proposed by somebody in Sun City who was president actually of the Bird Club at the time, and came to the president of the garden club, and together they decided to put this garden together. And it was started in the planning in 2009, and it was installed in 2010, and it's been maintained since then. Currently it's being maintained by the Avant Gardener Club and volunteers from the club.
Let's give a little bit of kudos to those volunteers that come. Share with our audience, how intensive is the volunteer effort here?
So we have a group that comes in here every week.
Now to our new favorite segment, Extra Special.
Sun City TV is happy to introduce a new block of programming we call Retro SCTV.
What you'll see are previous episodes of shows we've produced, like Healthy Eating with Leslie, The Breeze, and Low Country Snapshots.
And let's not forget Neighborhood Challenge.
So it's extra special that we check in with Jim Bruner, the MC of Neighborhood Challenge. He shared his memories. Let's listen.
I'm here at Magnolia Hall where they're ready to rehearse the new play coming up, Boeing, Boeing. I'm meeting with one of the play's stars, Jim Bruner. He's going to take some time to reminisce with me about his career as a Sun City TV game show host. Jim, how did it come to be that you were the first Master of Ceremonies MC of the very first game show Sun City TV produced, Neighborhood Challenge?
Yeah. I think it's just because I knew some people.
I think it works like that in Hollywood.
George Rosehart lives in my community, along with JoJo Hines, who was active. And BJ Batt does a lot of filming for the Sun City Community Theater, and I guess they'd seen something in me and said, you want to do it? I had never done it before, so, well, okay, we'll find out.
And your agent agreed.
Yes, my agent agreed, yeah.
Now, this Neighborhood Challenge was part trivia and part physical dexterity type games.
Yeah.
When you look back, do you think that participating teams had more trouble with the trivia or with the physical challenges?
I think probably 50-50. Half of them couldn't remember anything about Sun City. I'm glad I wasn't answering those questions. I'm glad I had the questions answered for me.
Ferraro.
That is right. Congratulations.
Can I have that one?
Yeah, I think the Mensa writer that they hired to come up with those questions needed to be fired. I've looked over at some of them and I'm like, nope. Oh.
I think George stayed up half the night thinking of them. But the manual dexterity part was great. I mean, really good.
Oh! Good. Oh. Mm-hmm.
I know what you did as a kid.
Right into this one, are they?
Good so far.
Come on, that's good.
Oh,
Good job.
how about that?
Third
Keep it
story.
going.
I need to.
The balloon challenge is probably one of my favorites.
Yes.
And I kind of want to duplicate some of those maybe at a party someday. You always took time in each of the shows to get the contestants' reactions. Do any of those stand out to you?
Oh, yes. One, Kevin Card. Good grief. He comes up with the funniest things. He was blowing up balloons, and he said he really liked the feeling of blowing up a balloon. I couldn't believe it.
The highlight was blowing up those balloons. I actually got a little dizzy, and I like that.
The highlight is the people and having fun. The low light is losing. So next time I do this, I want to be on the winning team.
Oh, now, I hate to be hard-hitting journalist here, but I've got to ask you, you had some controversy during your run. Mayor Harry Williams.
Mayor Harry Williams.
Asked for a recount.
Come on, tell us about that.
And he did it with a straight face. I mean, Harry is the funniest guy. I know him from the golf course. And he always keeps you laughing. And you never know when it's coming. He just stares straight and then Harry's terrific. That was fun.
Well, I had a great time, but you know, I really, as a politician, I'm demanding a recount. I'm not really sure where we lost, but congratulations to Village Green. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun, and thanks for inviting us.
Now, the teams were, from neighborhoods. They were also from groups. What was probably our biggest rivalry that we had happening? Or like maybe the
Probably the board of directors.
Ooh, okay. Who were they against? Was it, wait, that was Neighborhood Challenge.
That's it.
No, neighborhood reps.
Neighborhood reps.
Yeah, neighborhood
That
reps.
was probably the biggest. They were at each other, I think.
Now, as you look back, when you got started, you said you had never done anything like this before. I know as an actor, you probably look at other actors for some influence. So I'm sure MCs do the same thing. So when you were going for this approach, were you more Alex Trebek or Regis Philbin?
Well, I tried to be Alex Trebek, but I couldn't keep a straight face. I kept breaking up and look over everybody laughing, and so I guess it ended up being more like Regis.
I have to say we've caught some of that on camera. We have. Now, I can't let you go without going back to those infamous questions.
Oh, dear.
Okay, and my favorite category was place in the sun, because it was supposed to be about Sun City, something we should know.
Yeah, we
but,
should.
But okay, who knew this? Here's the question you asked. The road Colonel Thomas Hayward here in Sun City is named after a famous military commander. For which war was he a military commander?
Which war?
Which war?
The Civil War.
No, that was the answer that your contestant gave.
And but I told him that answer.
You actually did a multiple choice. Revolutionary War. Yeah. See, those are the kind of questions. Now, Jim, you made the show, and we can't wait to come back and see all this acting prowess you have in Boeing Boeing. Thank you for taking time with us.
Come see Boeing Boeing. Thank you.
Now, before we leave you this month, indulge us with one more extra special thing to share.
At Sun City TV, we always hope to bring you entertainment and information. It's sometimes difficult to tell how we're coming across. Well, in 2022, we caught a Facebook post from a soon-to-be resident, Kathy Srubis. Self-titled as SCTV Fangirl. We always hope we'd get in touch with her.
And it just so happened that walking through Mayfest last month, I was stopped by a gentleman who complimented Sun City TV. When I met his wife, it was Kathy, our fangirl, and this became a happy reunion with some happy tears and hugs.
Well, thanks, Kathy, and all our viewers. We are so humbled by our viewers' attention and kind words. With grateful smiles on our faces, that's Extra for June. I'm Joanne Hines.
And I'm Georgia Lash. Thank you for watching. Please join us again next month as we bring you extra coverage of stories and features from Sun City TV.